Oh, well, this is Ryder here. The Ultraman New Generation Stars DX G.U.T.S Hyper Key Premium New Generation Stars set. Yes, despite the fact this thing is still credited under Trigger, this was primarily made for New Generation Stars Season 2. And we'll get to that eventually, obviously, because this is not really telling us much. However, the only thing it is telling us is that Blazar and Earthgaron are on the front of the box. And yes, we're still doing hyper keys in 2024. Whoop-de-doo. Of course it's a premium one, because why wouldn't it be? The bottom here just has the QR code for the manual. This is the content list. And then rewards. This side doesn't have anything. This is just warning to support. And then this is the warnings and such. Obviously, just like ever since Gaia, we haven't had a slipcase. So here we have the keys out, and here's our lineup. So we have the storage G.U.T.S Hyper Key, I think it's called. Or is, I think it is just storage. The Blazar Hyper Key, the Earthgaron Hyper Key, and finally, after enough fan cry and from popular demand, Grigio. We'll go over her because we know her history. So, is this fine? Okay. So here's technically the main line, the main runner of the set, the storage G.U.T.S Hyper Key from New Generation Stars. As this is, I haven't seen much. This is the first recap series that I didn't watch the first episode for. I just skipped through the last episode and then finally realized they actually did use this key. But I assume this is the key that her name's Yuka, I think. I want to call her Yoko, but like, I don't think it's Yuka. I think that's the other girl, but like, basically I think this is the key she gains from Ignis and uses this key to gather the data of the new generation heroes and such, alongside a Decker stage show character and such. But as you can see from here, I really do like that how different this is. This is kind of like an inverse to like the special or like the EX, like Ultraman 55th anniversary and the TDG 25th anniversaries, by the base being this nice like gray, and the secondary color being this nice translucent blue. It's really neat. And then this is definitely the most unique sticker we've gotten, because we have Svenger, and then we have storage right there. And this one is the one of the very few keys that doesn't have a numbering, because it just has another storage symbol. I don't think this is storage though, because this is a J. I don't know what the J stands for, but the back here is definitely the most interesting. Obviously, it's the main one, so it has the trans stamp. But as you can tell from here, this one's B022. Despite this being a kaiju key, technically, but this one again has 3 standard modes. So there we got the announcement for storage, obviously pulled from the storage sound in the G.U.T.S Spark ones. And then if we hold it down, this is our sound mode. But this is the most lengthiest sound mode we have, because there's like 48 sounds, and it's basically going to be the same sounds you're going to hear from when you use it with the G.U.T.S Spark ones. So we're actually going to skip it. In our third mode, we actually have phrases. There are 7 of them. That's the second one. then that's basically it for that one. Next up, we have Blazar. As you can see from here, I generally don't get why they chose red for him. I guess they needed a red key for the set, because I thought they would have gone the Nexus route and just made Blazar silver, or at least we never had a white G.U.T.S hyper key, so I think white would have been fine. But as you can see here, here is spoiler for the end of the series. Here is Blazar doing the Blazar Coulson. He has U-42, obviously continuing off of Decker Flash type from the last set. And then, obviously, because he's red, he's still B027. Blazar is actually back to the standard premium lineup of where we have Hyperkey mode, BGM mode, and sound mode.
Ultraman Blazer.
Interesting they just added a grunt instead of the what they typically would do is like the activation sound of the transformation device. So obviously here we won't go through everything. We will just do the transformation and like a grunt in the color timer. That is obviously pulled from the Blazer brace. I verified. Obviously, I said I had to verify because we know the nature of these toys of them just ripping dialogue directly from the show and not actually bringing the actors back in. And then, next up, we have the BGM track of Blazar, which is actually the instrumental rendition of the opening that is done by the composers of the series as opposed to like the direct instrumental. The next attack is the Spiral Parade, and then it's a grunt, and then it will be the Blazar Coulson. And here we have the color timer for Blazar. Next up, we have our Soul Kaiju key of the set, which makes sense. Here is Earth Garon and such, to which it's kind of actually refreshing to see a Kaiju key again. And one that's actually, like, I get strive for. He is B031. The stained glass illustration here. Obviously, we have Earth Garon, I guess, doing what they call in the hyper key the Earth Fire. And then he is M-36. I think he comes after Hudram? I think so. And obviously, I don't think this makes sense, but you're going to understand why, but his default color is white. So, Earth Garon functions like the other subset, the other, like, set of premium G.U.T.S hyper keys, where it's just hyper key mode, sound mode, and then Ultra Monster mode. I think I can tell that was ripped from the show, because I don't think that's a line from the Earth Garon toy, and you can tell there's like a reverb of some kind. There's some airiness to it as opposed to in here. I think in here it's just, again, it's the same formula as Blazar. It's a grunt, finisher, grunt, and finisher. Obviously he's a kaiju, he doesn't have a color timer. Ultra Monster mode obviously has the entire lineup of Blazar Kaijus, to which I think rounds up to 20. So I'll just apologize for losing count of who is first, because I can't tell what Bazonga sounds like. if it is Bazonga. Again, some of these sound similar, or sound familiar. Like, out of all the Blazar Kaijus, I know that one's Garurumon. I can't tell what Niji Kagaji Kagaji sounds like anymore. Like, that one sounds familiar. Is that Galvadon? But he's not a Blazar Kaiju. That one is supposed to be whoever his name was from Fies. His name was not Kaito. I think we circled back. I'm pretty sure we circled back. Yeah. Yeah, if we went to Garurumon, then we circled back. I thought there was Red King. There was a kaiju that was like a Showa kaiju. Like the ones that we've already gone by, but I guess we missed it. Anyways, here she finally is, Grigio, after Bandai told us multiple times, guys, we can't do her. We don't have enough resources. But, you know, thanks to Ultra Galaxy Fight, they were able to rip more audio from that. So Grigio is in this really nice orange. Obviously the camera is making it a lot more lighter than what it typically is. I don't have Victory because Victory's boxed up in his set. But I'm pretty sure it's the same base, but I don't mind it. And because she's orange, she is B028. And there she is in the stained glass illustration. Obviously, she comes after Blazar being U-43. And Grigio follows the same sound format as Earth Garon. So we'll get Hyper Key, Sound Mode, and Ultra Monster Mode.
Ultrawoman Grigio. Ground mode.
And she starts out the same as Blazar by having a phrase before her transformation. But obviously, again, I'm pretty sure they already had some of these sounds because of what they did with the Blazar brace.
Ultrawoman Grigio.
I think this is the third rendition of her transformation sound after what they did with Decker. Because Zet and Blazar refused to give her her actual sound. Decker actually gave her her full length sound, but then this toy they finally managed to give us a shortened version of it, and I think this is what is carried over into Arc. But So obviously to fill in some of her sound mode sounds, they added phrases. And I think it's just the one finisher. They gave her another phrase here.
Ultra Monsters.
And here we have another Ultra Monster mode. I initially thought this, I said this before in the opening, but like I initially thought what they were going to do here was just give her the Rube monster lineup. However, they did the same thing like what they did with Zero. If you can tell when we cycle through here. That is Tregear. He's the only one I can identify. I think because obviously the other two are from the Rube movie. Is that? I think that's Dark Killer. I don't remember her fighting Zeton. Whatever her name was. I think we cycled back. No, we already did. Okay. Yeah, so unlike EX selection, I can't tell who I'm going through, cause I don't know, like EX selection had such identifiable like first entries, and these two were back to whoop. I'm just being wanderless, but after I replace the battery, we'll use the G.U.T.S spark ones. Alright, so I'll be using the black spark lens because the functionality of this key is cool. And by using this key, it ruins that. And because this thing does not like this key at all for some reason. It just doesn't want to read it. And like, you know, it messes up with like how things are supposed to line up. And because Ignis is in the show, so we'll just use his. So obviously we activate it. And then insert like normal. So obviously that's typical until we press the trigger. So this tells us that data has been uploaded and such, or data is being updated, to which if we were to press it again, tells us the data of Ultraman 0 is installed, which at this point you want to remove the key. And now our storage key is updated, to which now when we press the button, we have sounds related to 0. So as you hear it from there, the first press is the grunt of 0, and then the second press is his finisher, and then the last press will always be the antagonist of that, like the big antagonist of that Ultra. And the cool thing about this mode, specifically when you use it with the G.U.T.S spark ones, it actually locks it to this selection and such. Because it basically locks into sound mode. Because when we go into sound mode, obviously we can go through those sounds, but it's going to go through the others. So let's load it in again. The thing is that you can't select who you have already. You have to select it through the hypergun mode. So, meaning that we have to press this 4 times to get to our next selection. So as you can hear from there, we will have the data of Ultraman Ginga. Was that the Ginga cross shoot? And then, technically, we're not supposed to be at this point, because it's not technically, again, Ginga, Victory, and then Rosso Blue are interesting because of how they're done. So if we want Victory, we have to press this up to 6 times. I got that wrong. I think Ginga's the only one. Let's see. Because I think... No, it just skipped it. Okay. So as you can hear from here, if we were to press this... it cut to Victory. And basically with Victory, we get Dark Lugia. And then, if we were to press it again, it circles back to Ginga. So if we were to skip through, so that means I pressed it 8 times for X. So that will make blue 14. I'm losing count already. Yeah, we messed up. Let's go to blue. So obviously we'll start with blue. But then Grigio will be next. Then there's Rusite. And then Rosso. I think Taiga would be the last one I'll do, because I think Taiga's is funny. Or unless we do it, actually we'll do it here. So. Again, Taiga, Titus, and Fuma don't have their own individual announcements, so they're all under Taiga. Now I'll just do the grunts, because the funny thing here is that obviously if we were to go to the antagonist of Taiga, obviously there's Tregear, which obviously they just took from this key, but actually shortened it. And I appreciate that if we were to. Because if we were to put... I think that's smart. But anyways, if we were to go to sound mode properly and then cycle through this, so we'll do Z. So now we're under Z sound selection. There's his grunt, Zetsium Coulson. Zet actually has Savenger. And then there's Destrotus, I think. But anyways, going back to this. If we were to transform with this hyper key, obviously this will do its thing. So just activate it like so. So I'll just say first of all, it's interesting that they decided to choose an Ultraman track for this key, but I think just because of the purposes of the sounds it does this, and it chooses the white one. And this is the first key in a while where we don't have to press it for it to announce itself, which is pretty neat. As for what this does, it's basically sound mode. So you're just cycling through all 47 sounds again. So again, for the sake of this, we'll go to trigger. I think that's supposed to be Chimera? Or whatever her kaiju form was. Very short. And then putting this in G.U.T.S Spark Lens mode doesn't make a difference. Obviously we changed into G.U.T.S Spark, or the G.U.T.S Hypergun mode, so it just resetted itself, basically. So that's basically the gist of the storage key, which is pretty, there's a lot of functionality to it. Obviously, if we were to use this how it was intended, the issue is that obviously dealing with all these errors, and because of dealing with how this works, of basically uploading data, or the data being updated every time you eject it, it kind of gets annoying. Like, obviously you just simply try to insert it in, but then you have to deal with that, and it's just, who do we have? Okay, we have Victory. Like, just let us play with this thing properly in here once. It just doesn't like working for some reason. And this is why I didn't want to do it for this review, and why in the demo I just gave up and just let this thing fire. This is that's how it's supposed to be. Whoops, we just reset it. Anyways, here we have Blazar. Please focus. Obviously going off of the Coulson attack. They're really commercializing on this final episode attack, and we have to redo that because this thing did not read properly. To which then we will transform. So we have the Blazar Brace standby, obviously. And then just press this to transform. Press this again for the announcement. So there we have the transformation of Blazar with the Spark Lens, to which I think is really neat because obviously the one we're used to has attached to the end of it, but now it's separate. But I wish you would have been able to press that again after the Ultraman Blazer announcement, just to recreate that more. But anyways, that is one of 10 sound effects, because the next sound, I don't know what that attack is. Obviously it's a red LED. Again, I don't know what that attack is supposed to be either. There we have the rainbow coloring. Obviously, that is the Spiral Parade. And last but not least, I don't remember what I was going to say. Then last but not least, with the fight sound. And then when we hold this down, obviously we have the color timer that we can overlay. And then we can stop that. And obviously the second one is the BGM, but we'll get to that. Because obviously, when we hold this down, if you can actually focus for once,
Ultraman Blazer.
in G.U.T.S Spark Lens mode, we actually have Gento. We actually have Gento's phrase in it. I'll play this without the announcement. Now we have the BGM mode obviously playing automatically. And obviously you can stop it by holding it down and then changing it to the color timer. Then Earth Garon. Or Garen. Okay. Can you please read? Okay.
Earth Fire. Earth Fire.
That one always throws me off because I'm always like, oh shoot, is this thing going off? But no. This one's interesting for a kaiju key. I think we have covered a kaiju key that actually has like dialogue overlaid with it. Which obviously you can press it. Then we will wait to announce it. So, as you obviously can see, he's a white LED. And the standby is pretty interesting. It's just like, I just feel like I don't leave it out for, I don't let it play out for too long. I don't know where it comes from, honestly. And I'll go over this right away, because this is the sound for when you hold the button down. Which is interesting, because this phrase can actually be played over the attacks. Obviously we have the kaiju cry. I think he has 8 sounds. That sounds like the last one, because I'm pretty sure each of his finishers are each of his mods. Or modules. And I think that's the transformation sound again, or the summoning sound again, because after that, we're back to this. So it's an interesting cycle. And because of that, I'm not going, I mean, I don't think it's necessary for me to go through Spark Lens mode, because basically the only reason why I will do that is just letting the standby play for a bit longer. But obviously, like, I'll address this obviously. These two keys have the specification of being able to press the button whenever the phrase starts. So obviously you can wait until they finish speaking, or you can press it in any duration they're speaking and such. Because the audio will transition to that point and such. The camera is going to overheat, so I have to let it rest before we get. Alright, last up, Grigio.
Ultrawoman Grigio. Grigio.
I don't know why that one's delayed. Anyways. There's a sound from one of her finishers. I won't press it. There's a reason. But, yeah. Orange LED, and looks pretty good overall. I'll go over this first, just like what I did with Earth Garon, because this is kind of a first. But like Earth Garon, when you hold down the button, you get phrases, which I think is 7. However, these phrases cannot be overlapped. I won't try it yet. So obviously those 3 are from the movie. Is that one from New Generation Heroes? Or this one? I don't remember Asahi's role. No, Asahi got captured alongside Zero. That's what. That's what happened to her. I think that's from Absolute Conspiracy. I think that one for sure is, and I think the rest are from Destined Crossroad. Or it's just that one. But Grigio I think has 7 sounds? I don't know what that one's from, because I assume the majority of these are from Galaxy Fight. That one's self-explanatory. Just like with Blizzard, interestingly, they put their most, like, iconic finishers in the middle. I don't know what that one is, but that one has one of my with that sound. It makes one of my gripes about her key more polarizing, but she does have, I think, one more set. But yeah, the shield charge was directly in the middle. Or, yeah, she doesn't have a flight sound. Alright. So, this is not, like, a gripe I have. This is what I randomly discovered because I was expecting her key to be, like, Decker's, where just automatically you're permanently just gonna have her phrase about happiness, or like, happy, and such, when you transform. However, in a weird turn of events, hers is the only key where you actually get something different from entering sound mode. I don't know if this is even mentioned in the manual, because I don't regularly check the manuals, but if you're gonna hear, if it wants to work, if you were to load the key in sound mode, see, you have her line. And then I'll press it here. And like here, I'll also digress how the phrases here don't overlap. As you can tell, they just cut into each other. And also, no, I won't get into it yet. Again, just to prove, we will do Ultra Monster mode. And let the standby play. See? No Asahi phrase. But we go back to sound mode. Like, it's just weird. Like, that is such an interesting choice, and I actually kind of wish Decker's key did that. That is such an interesting change. So, yeah, Asahi can be consistent with your other new generation heroes. It's just that you need to set her into sound mode, as opposed to, again, like with Blazar actually having a, like, dedicated mode for that, or with Decker, or like Decker, Leo, 80, and 7, where it's just permanently, like, burnt into the key. They gave you a choice with Grigio. It's just that it's in a mode you wouldn't have expected it to be in. I think that's all that need to be covered. We're not showing anything in here. Circle orbs. Oops. This one, thankfully, doesn't care which mode you're in, so it won't do finishers from 0 to Blazar. It's just its own thing. Thank gosh. It would have been cool, but, you know, we don't need to spend, like, I didn't need to record this key for as long as I needed to in the demo. Blazar, we can do something fun. To which, obviously, oh jeez, we can pretend this thing is, we can pretend the Sky Arrow's a shield, a spear. Blazar's key is the first of these that I think actually changed up its circle arms finisher. Because beforehand, even if that Ultra had a weapon, for example, like, Victory, he had the Shepardon Saber, it didn't dedicate that sound specifically to, like, Shepardon, or, like, I don't remember what the Shepardon Saber finisher was called, but, like, it's still Victorium and such. Like, obviously, this announcing Blazar makes sense, because obviously Blazar, this form, like, this is just Blazar, it doesn't have a form. But typically, it would have just been, like, Blazar, and then it would have been the Blazar Coulson. But the fact they went through the effort of transforming this thing, or like making it so this thing actually does say Spiral, is really cool. It kind of, like, again, it's like the opportunities they could have had with all the other Ultras, like with Decker, for example, if, like, you loaded it in here and it actually did a Ultra Dual Sword finisher, like, it would have been cool.
Start! Earth Fire! Claw Impact!
And this one's also interesting too, because this one actually announces a Scarred as opposed to, I think just the kaiju name, if going off of, if I remember from Trigger Dark.
Multi-Sword!
And then last but not least, Grigio.
Maximum! Suit Up! Grigio! Here! Sword Finish!
Again, that one is pretty standard and such. But again, I think the cheer is new too. So this is such an interesting set of, like, having keys that actually have new finisher announcements, because typically we only have new announcements for the insertion and such, like with well, maybe it's been a while, because I'm pretty sure I don't remember, because I know EX for sure, like, obviously when you insert a Nexus, it said Enfants and such. And, like, obviously Decker and Dyna said Flash. I think I'm probably giving this thing too much credit. So my thoughts overall on this set. Honestly, it's still pretty solid. Especially for, I guess, to say basically kind of not really having much to go off of, and basically, again, just kind of, it's not, in a way you can say it just recycles a bunch of sound assets they've had, but honestly, I'll compliment them for saying that they've actually went through the effort of actually giving us different sound effects and such, like what I compared before with Tregear. They didn't just copy and paste it, they actually modified it, and again, the Blazar sounds in here are actually different. The Blazar and Earth Garon sounds are actually different from what are appear here and such. So I'll give them that. Like, the fact we got this set is pretty cool. And the fact that they went through all this effort for a recap show is pretty cool. Obviously, people are mainly going to get this for the 2 Blazar keys, which makes sense. And personally, for me, I think having this set, just kind of like with Decker, I think with having this set, I'm probably fine not having the Memorial Edition Blazar Brace. I mean, the fact that this toy had it first before that toy, because they made it a big deal in the marketing, or in the promotion. They're like, oh, look, you can do the Blazar Coulson, and it's like, the Hyperkey beat you to it, guys. But there's like a lot. Like, honestly, all these keys are like really phenomenal and such, especially the storage key. I just appreciate how much new they're still bringing, like how much new things they're bringing to these keys, despite this being 3 years later. Again, some of these might have been carried over from the Memorial Edition Gut Spark ones, which, again, I don't remember if I've actually given my opinions on that thing, but I think that's one of the few things that I don't get why Bandai said, "Oh, we're not going to do this thing," and then years later they're like, "Yeah, we'll do it." Because at least with the Grigio, it makes sense. She's a hyper key, and she's a fan favorite Ultra. So, of course, people were gonna bother Bandai or pester Bandai to make the key, and then Bandai finally was like, "Fine, we'll rip more audio of her." So, like, I think, like I said before, my only gripes. How much gripes did it have? I generally don't remember. There was. Oh. My only. I mean, they're not like gripes. They're not like heavy gripes. They're more just. They're like minor gripes. But, like, for example, Blazar, I find it weird that the Chalcedonite sword is missing. Like, there's no like, there's no, like, Chalcedonite sword finisher. Which is kind of upsetting. Because I enjoyed that thing. So to not hear that thing in this thing is kind of upsetting. And where's Grigio's color timer? It's kind of weird that that's just not included. It's cool that we got these phrases of Grigio because again they needed to fill up the soundboard, but like where's her color timer? Because I just watched a color timer compilation like I think 2 days ago, and her color timer is the same one as Rube and Groob. So it's like they could have done it. We never had Rube's color timer. So we could have had it here, but like for some reason they just didn't include it. Like in like the stuff I pointed out earlier for her, like those are not complaints. Those are just like interesting like those are just like interesting what do you call it? I thought that was just fascinating because like I think I did discover it in the opening and like just kept a mental note about it because like again we never had a key that required you to actually activate it in sound mode to gain something when you use it in the gut spark ones because sound mode is typically just for like independency and such when you're not using the gut spark ones, but the fact that you get something in sound mode when you use the gut spark ones is pretty interesting. And like I think if I had to say, if I had to like, and this is not even just out of like anything, like I'll have to I guess say like Earth Garon is probably my least favorite, despite the fact that again it's really cool that like we have a kaiju key, and it's really cool that this kaiju key. I forgot about the trigger ones, or the Giants of Darkness. I think they split the three. They split the kaiju's of Trigger between those three and such. But like, I mean, this one has the entire kaiju lineup of Blazar and such, which again, it's really cool and such. And I already talked about the. Did I already talk about the positives of the Blazar key? Because I already said that I would have preferred if it wasn't red, and that I would have liked the Chalcedonite sword sound and such. Like obviously, like, do they consider it a form or something that they excluded it? Because I again, it's like the Chalcedonite sword is like a major arsenal piece to a Blazar, and like it's just excluded. I guess if they do a Fedoran armor key, if they for some reason jump to that, then they would include it. But like, I don't know. It's just weird that the Chalcedonite sword's missing. And the storage key, again, is just phenomenal and such. Again, they do cut corners as to how it can, because of its massive sound capacity, or like, just because of like the 77 or the 47 sounds it has of from Zero through Blazar. So I understand that they have to cut corners and such, but like honestly, that's fine. Because again, with how phenomenal the boys are key, the trigger or the Guts Hyper Key toy line has been. Like that's why I didn't mind. That's why I don't mind like the Ultra Dual Sword key being so minimalistic in terms of functionality. Because it's like, I mean, sure, that's welcomed because all of the Guts Hyper Keys we've been getting have been jam packed with functionality. So it's just like getting ones that have to cut corners, but are at least still satisfactory. I don't mind it. I welcome it and such. But I have 3 minutes left. So for this, basically, I think it's kind of clear for this being the final Guts Hyper Key set we're ever going to get, because we're going to transition into the premium line of the Arc Cubes. They did a really nice job at concluding it and such. Because I thought I still think EX Selection is a lot more powerful of a conclusion. I think they definitely could have. I'm fine with the 4 we've gotten. The fact that we did get Grigio is neat, because I'm pretty sure they would have just done these 3, which still would have been fine. But again, the fact they finally, I think just because of the fact that, like, they said, oh, I think it's just because, like, they did the Memorial Edition got Spark Lens, so it's just like, if they only did that, obviously people would be like, well, if you guys were being hypocrites here, why don't you be a hypocrite about not doing the Grigio key? But I think it would have been cool if they did the same thing like what they did with EX Selection, of giving us more of the trigger pairing keys. Even though, again, it will be outdated at that point, because, like, no one's clamoring for the Trigger and Tiga key or the Trigger and Ultraman key. Heck, give us the Blazar stones that were supposed to be like Blazar and Ginga, Blazar and Zet, Blazar and Decker. No, it was Trigger and Decker. They could have packed Blazar stones into this, but they didn't. I got this off of Collectibles. They sold it for $110, which I don't know. I think that's a bit too much. I think the set's more worth for like $50 to like $70 at best. Just like the other Guts Hyper Key Premium sets. Just because, like, honestly, again, it's really up to you whether or not you want it, but like, I'll say, like, this set is still phenomenal. Like, none of these sets, even if I have disliked some aspects of them, they're still phenomenal. Like, they really do their quality checks to these, even though it's a gripe that they just rip audio directly from the show. Again, except for this toy or Blazar, because obviously this is just pulled from the Blazar verse. I feel like there's a lot more to talk about, but I think this video might be under an hour, so that'll have to do this review. This is Ryder, now leave people. Bye.